Good afternoon. Here we are again on Saturday, Veterans Talk. We're going to talk about the plights of veterans in the United States and how the United States deals with the plight of veterans. I want to welcome everybody to the show today. As you can see, I'm hosting the show by myself. A bit of a challenge, so bear with me. Reverend McGee is recovering from surgery, and so right now we're going to claim divine recovery for him, and next week he'll be here with me co-hosting the show. Okay. One of the things I'll start off with, one of the things that we're noted for, and as you can see here on my cap, Sons of Atlanta. The Atlanta, Fulton County, and particularly the city of Atlanta, has authorized and included in the budget for 2024 this year for the building of a memorial in Piedmont Park to commemorate the lives of the 240 plus young men who paid the ultimate price. They were sons of Atlanta, and like most of us, served honorably in the military. But unfortunately, due to some of the acts in war, we lose some of our prized sons, find themselves, they lose their lives in war. It's challenging for the family and of course challenging for the country. But what we want to do is to honor these young men. It's not often that these young men who served are honored, and particularly here in the city of Atlanta. Now, we're all familiar with the fact that the veterans and these young men are honored in Washington, D.C. on that memorial for those men who paid the ultimate price for our country. One of the things we want to do, of course, is to honor our local young men. And I am using the term, what we want to do is bring them home. We want them to be here in Atlanta, in their home city, where those family members and friends and associates can go to Piedmont Park and honor them there. So what we're doing here at the Sons of Atlanta Vietnam Memorial is working with the city of Atlanta, who is including in the 2024 budget for the building of the memorial in Piedmont Park. And so we're all excited about this. This particular memorial was the brainchild of Reverend McGee, my co-host who's normally here with me, but he's having health challenges. But it was his brainchild, and through many years, to the best of my memory, I think it goes back all the way to 2015 when the original idea came to him to do a memorial to honor these young men from Atlanta. So here we are, 2024, making his dream come true. It's not often that has a chance to happen, particularly when the memorial, particularly in a city like Atlanta, where there are lots of memorial to a lot of things in the city. But here's an opportunity for the sons of Atlanta who served during Vietnam and paid the ultimate price are going to be honored in historic Piedmont Park here in the city of Atlanta. Of course, Piedmont Park is probably one of the most heavily visited parks within the city of Atlanta, and so it's going to give plenty of people an opportunity to visit the memorial, read the names, all of those young men who paid the ultimate price. Here's an opportunity for them, not only just the visitors from Atlanta, but the family members of these young men from Atlanta. Here's an opportunity for them to come to Piedmont Park, visit the memorial, and celebrate the lives of their family members. It's not often that we get an opportunity to do that, but here we have an opportunity to do that. Of course, not just the immediate family members, but this memorial is going to be a permanent part of the memorial. So it's one of those things that in years to come, as those family members visit here for whatever reason, and of course family memorials, which is always a great thing, here's an opportunity for them to come to Piedmont Park and celebrate the lives of their family members who paid the ultimate price. Now, one of the many ways that you can do that is by purchasing a commemorative brick. You can purchase a commemorative brick. Prices range from 100, 300, 500, 700, and 1,000. The more you pay for the brick, the closer the brick will be to the actual memorial itself. I'm coining the phrase, that particular walkway that leads up to the memorial will be a walk of honor. You're walking along to honor those 240 young men who paid the ultimate price. So here's an opportunity. Go to the website, sonsofatlanta.org. Go to the section on that memorial, on that website that says commemorative brick. Purchase a commemorative brick, put your information in there, it will be included on the brick, and you can become a permanent part of a permanent memorial in a permanent park. You know, that's like being here forever. So here's an opportunity, let's take advantage of that. Okay. I find myself alone today because, like I said earlier, Reverend McGee is having health challenges recovering from surgery. One of the things that I will briefly discuss today that is a challenging part of veterans, and particularly the veterans here in Atlanta, is the homeless situation. It's not just a homeless situation for veterans, but it's a homeless situation for some of the citizens of the city of Atlanta. It's not often that we get an opportunity to do something about this, but this has been an ongoing challenge for the city of Atlanta, and it's an opportunity for the city of Atlanta and the citizens of Atlanta to do something about the homeless situation that is a challenge to our city. It is particularly important now because of the challenging weather that we're experiencing. When you have below freezing temperatures, it is a real challenge for those homeless veterans. Luckily, the city of Atlanta has opened several warming stations around the city for those homeless, not just veterans, but homeless citizens, are able to go in and remain warm during these challenging weather temperature days within the city of Atlanta. So we're hoping that those veterans and citizens are taking advantage of this and finding themselves in some of these warming stations. Occasionally, one of the challenges that probably some of the citizens, homeless citizens that are challenged, is getting to some of the warming stations, even though they're all over the city. One of the things that has come across in the news recently is some of the homeless citizens are finding their way to the Atlanta airport and using that as a warming station, even though it's not officially a warming station. But that is a challenge. That is shall we say, a quick solution for those who are homeless and aren't able to find their way to some of the actual warming stations. Hopefully that situation will be resolved so that it'll be made easier for those citizens trying to get to those warming stations to get there. The other challenge that some of the citizens and veterans are mental challenges. We have to accept the fact that there are citizens of ours who are dealing with mental health problems. And some of them find themselves unable to get assistance when needed. And one of those areas of assistance would be getting themselves out of the weather into a warming station, one of the many warming stations around the city. We have to understand that some of our homeless citizens are having mental challenges, and it is difficult for them to possibly accept assistance, and because they have been, shall we say, not actually cared for the way they should be. And part of that is because of them having mental challenges, they are skeptical. To be honest with you, they're skeptical about anyone attempting to assist them. And that is, I would say, one of the shortcomings of the mental health facilities here within the city of Atlanta. That there's a very good possibility, and I'm not familiar with the numbers, that some of those facilities are probably overrun with some of our homeless citizens who are having mental challenges. And it's challenging and difficult enough just for them to exist under normal situation. And then you add to what we're experiencing now is inclement weather. And so as a result, you know, it is an additional challenge that they are dealing with. It is one of those things where in situations like this, we expect the other citizenry around the city of Atlanta to step up in these situations. And one of the ways of doing it is through many of the churches. There are a lot of churches that are providing assistance to those citizens who find themselves homeless or out in inclement weather. And that is one of the sources for getting them help, getting them assistance to some of the warming stations so they don't have to deal with these challenging inclement weather conditions. So that's my spiel on it. And just like everybody to think about that. One of the other topics that I'm going to discuss today that's come across is medical assistance. Veterans, most of us, particularly when we were serving in the military, never had a challenge with getting medical assistance for any health challenges that we were dealing with. But that particular situation has changed as a result of us being discharged from the military, you know, and so some of us were able to get into and work through, the medical facilities provided for veterans. And we've heard a lot of challenging stories about how veterans are dealing with those health challenges that they are dealing with and how they're getting assistance. So it is extremely important that that particular situation, particularly with health, that veterans are able to obtain assistance. One of the things that we didn't have to worry an awful lot when we were in the military is that service was almost immediate, if not faster. One of the things that is prevalent today, of course, is COVID and getting vaccinations. In the military, it was never a problem. You know, if there were vaccines available and authorized for the public, the military took care of that and made sure that those of us who were serving during that time, we got the vaccinations we needed for any of the possible social diseases that were going around, particularly like, flu, influenza. That was a normal thing within the military. However, once we were discharged from the military, that particular responsibility fell on each of us individually. Some of us were able to deal with it and handle it, and then others who were, as I said earlier, having mental challenges find themselves not getting the appropriate care that they need. So that's an area within the VA that some veterans need assistance in acquiring. And not just veterans, but also veteran family members, those that are eligible for health care through the VA system. Some are unaware of their qualifications to get assistance from the VA. I've said this before, and I'll say it now again. Particularly when I joined the Air Force, and that was 1965, the military did an exceptional job in preparing me to serve in the military. You know, from the moment I raised my hand and pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the United States, everything that I needed, that the military felt I should have to perform my duties, I was provided with. No questions asked. However, the challenge comes at the time of discharge. The military, particularly in my situation, didn't do an equally effort, did not provide an equal effort for providing me what I needed to transition back into the civil community. And that's something that I think the military should look at and do a better job at. You know, you serve your time, excuse me, honorably, and you're ready to leave the military, and once that's done and you leave the military, you're out now in the civil society. It is and has been a challenge for some veterans to re-enter the community. Most of us became very comfortable with a regimented lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, you're no longer in a regimented lifestyle. You're pretty much on your own. And some of us handled that well, but there is a portion of those who served alongside me, both before, during, and after, that do not handle that transition back into the civil society very well. That, in my opinion, is a job of the military, is to provide us with what we need so that we can easily move back into civil society. Now, some of us do it well. There was no real challenges, but then there are some that did not and are not doing well. And part of that has to do with those veterans who served particularly during times of war. Post-traumatic stress, it comes in many levels, in many forms, and appears in many ways with the different veterans. It is extremely important, in my opinion, that's something that the military has to do a better job. I'm not saying they aren't doing the job. They are doing the job, but it is a portion of military training that needs to be better handled. You know, I can remember serving in the military, and for most of the time, you actually didn't have to make an awful lot of decisions dealing with yourself. You were told when to get up, when to go to bed, when to eat, all of those things. When you had duties within the military, you were told when to show up, what you had to do, when to leave, and so some people became very comfortable with that regimented life, and then all of a sudden, after your term of service, you're no longer in a regimented society, and unfortunately, some don't handle that transition very well. And as a result, you find veterans that have served honorably while in the military are now out, and they have a challenge adjusting to society. And the way society works and the pace that society moves at today is really challenging. Add to that, if the veteran experienced any trauma during the military, then all of a sudden now you add that element to their psyche on dealing with their personal their personal trauma, and then adjusting to a society that is not as regimented as it was in the military. It was so easy during the military because most of the time you weren't required to think about your basic duties as far as what your MOS or your job assignment was in the military. And now you find yourself out, and now some of those decisions you have to make for yourself. And it can be difficult for some people. You know, you live several years of people telling you where to go, when to go, how to go, all of that, and now you find yourself having to make those decisions yourself. In most situations, it goes fairly easy, but the challenge comes if you're dealing with possibly post-traumatic stress. Now, you're being put into society in a situation where everything, particularly now, moves at such a rapid pace that it can be challenging for you to keep up with and to do the things you need to do. However, you're now in that society and you're now having to make those decisions. It is extremely important, in my opinion, that the VA should they should recognize that and be willing to assist those who need that type of assistance in, as you say, moving back into a non-regimented society. So that's my idea of one of the ways of the VA helping the veterans do the things that the veterans needs to be done to help him readjust as he moves back into society. And particularly today, everything today is fast moving. When I can honestly say, when I left the military in 1969, there were no computers, there was no internet, all of those things. This is something that is happening today. And if you're not prepared to move into that society, you may find yourself in challenging situations trying to deal with it. So I'm saying all of that to say this, that I think the military does an excellent job of preparing us to serve during our time in the military. But I think it needs to work on its transitioning program so that those veterans that are transitioning from military life to civil life can do it easily, particularly those who are dealing with possible traumatic experiences while in the military, meaning those that served during wartime. One of the other topics that I'm particularly interested in and wanted to point out was the fact that we are in an election period in our country. It is our opportunity to vote for and elect those officials who will be making major decisions that affect our lives. I'm saying that particularly for the point that it's time to elect some major offices. Of course, president and vice president, those are major offices that is elected by the entire country. But my idea, particularly during election time, is that it is extremely important that when you go in to vote, you just don't vote for those people at the top of the ticket. Let me say that again. It's particularly important that you don't only vote for those people at the top of the ticket. You need to vote down ballot. It is extremely important because those are the peoples whose decisions that you voted into office to run and operate those particular offices and positions directly affect your life. Admittedly, yeah, what the president and vice president and senators and all of that all of those people, what they do does affect your life, but your local officials directly affect everything about your life. And I'm saying this to say that it is time, in fact, it is past time, to learn what those positions are, what they do, and how they affect your life. Once you do that, what you really should be doing is vetting that person, finding out, are they qualified to do the job they do? What is their attitude about the position that they're running for, that you want you to vote them into office or into that position? It is, in my opinion, extremely important to vet your local officials, because those are the ones that are going to directly affect your life. So like I said earlier, president, vice president, all the senators, all well and good, but you need to look locally. And you really should start, in my opinion, at the top, which is the governor of the state that you live in and his attitude, and those state representatives that are representing those sections, that community that you live in. And not just locally, but also within the city. Those positions that those elected officials are running for, not only do they affect your life, but most of the time it affects your future. They're making decisions, and some of them are long-term, that will directly impact your life, and some of it possibly for the rest of your life. And so the idea is to vet them. It's easy to do. Their history, if they've held office before, their voting records are available to the public. Any possible bill that they propose is open to the public. Any bill that they voted on is open to the public, so that you'll know what they did in the past, and it will give you an idea of possibly what they may do in the future. So the idea is to vet your politicians. It is extremely important. And the other thing that's important is to know who they are. You need to know who's running your local offices. You need to know who those people are and what their attitudes are. And if they've held office before, how did they vote in the past which will be an indication possibly of how they will vote in the future. Once you find out who they are, the idea now is to communicate with them. It's one of those things where, okay, hey, I'm in luck. Reverend McGee, who normally hosts this, he's giving me a call. Hello?
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
I'm watching the show. Brother, and I want to thank you for raising this issue today about the election. Hello? Tony? I'm watching the show, brother, and I want to thank you for raising this issue today about the election. Hello?
Yeah. I think I'm getting a lot of feedback from your.
Hey, John, set it out.
Okay. Yeah. That was Reverend McGee. I'm not sure if you heard what he said, but he was encouraging me to continue to bring up the topic of the election and particularly the local election. Briefly, everybody knows that the former president is running for re-election. There's a lot of controversy associated with his past term and possibly some of the stuff that he'll do if he's reelected to reelected to the office, what he could possibly do. That is something of major concern, and I think we should really, really focus on that. But those positions, those offices that directly affect your life are extremely important, and those are the ones that you should really, really be focused on. And it's not just those state offices, but your county offices. Something all the way down to the mayor of your city. How accessible is your mayor to his or her citizenry? It's extremely important. You need to be able to, at some point, if you have the opportunity to speak directly with the mayor. That's why when they announce city council meetings or meetings with the mayor, it is extremely important that you show up, because a lot of times that's the only way that you're going to find out what's going on in your community. There are a lot of decisions that the mayors and your city council and your representatives, they make decisions that will directly affect your life and directly affect your pocketbook. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. You're living in these communities. You're paying taxes within these communities, and so you should be aware of the fact of what city services that are being given to you because you're a resident of. It's extremely, if you don't know what city services that are being provided by your city, then you're sort of lost. You need to know what services are provided by the city and what are provided by the county, so that when you have a challenge with a particular situation, for example, roads, you wouldn't go to the city of East Point because the roads are bad. You're going to go to the county. The county in most situations are those offices that are responsible for keeping, roads. It's knowing. And so it's not just vetting the politician, but it's also knowing what their responsibilities and their duties are. One of the things, and to be honestly, I will fault the educational system in the city. Particularly, I'll do it this way. When I can remember being in elementary school and high school, Fulton County. For those of you who may be a little familiar, I attended Jefferson Franklin Beavers Elementary School in College Park, Georgia. I attended South Fulton High School in East Point. I attended Turner High School in Atlanta, and I graduated from Harper High School in Atlanta. So I've seen a lot and experienced a lot. And I got a couple of minutes. One of the things that I grew up in is I grew up in the city of Atlanta, in Fulton County, and in Georgia, pre-segregation. So I lived in College Park, but when it came time to go to high school, because of segregated high schools during that period, I rode a bus from College Park to East Point to attend South Fulton High School because, of course, segregation was the law of the land then. And so we would actually, and I can remember riding by College Park High School on the way to East Point to go to high school. Just a little, little sidebar there, nothing important. But anyway, that was the community that we grew up in. The interesting thing now is, after all of those years, I now live in East Point, where I went to school, and to look at the community the way it looks now as compared to the way it looked then. Segregated, now totally desegregated, to the point of actually having black mayors of those cities. And that's in my opinion, that's a major accomplishment within our community and a major accomplishment for the country. The idea that these communities are able to elect governing officials that look like us. That's major. It is a challenge. It is a challenge because we also have I'll say it. We have a party that is almost hell-bent on not providing equal services and discriminating and even declaring, facts about our history to be not true, or saying we are misinterpreting some of the facts about our history, some of which we actually lived through. But anyway, I'll leave that particular topic for another day. But I am extremely excited about the upcoming election and the fact that we need to vent these local officials so that we'll have people in position that not necessarily look like us, but think like us. Think like where they put the community first when it comes to making decisions and not party first. We're seeing a challenge right now, particularly in our national political situation, of people putting a party ahead of the desires of the people. And that's something that does not benefit all the people. It is the duty of the government to provide opportunities for all the citizenry, not just those of a particular race, those of a particular religious belief. Those things are not important, is as important as how the federal government runs, the state government runs, and particularly the city and small town, the way those are run. And so we need to, and I can't say it enough, to vet these politicians, particularly those ones at the local level, because those are the ones that will directly affect our livelihood, the conditions basically that we live in, the cities that we live in. We want to elect officials that are, in my opinion, focusing on the benefit of the community and not their own political benefit or social benefit. So it's important. I have a couple of points I want to make. One of them particularly is that Fulton County has elected officials that recognize the importance of veterans in the community and have come up with a program that has been active for the past 3 years that is called the Veterans Empowerment Commission, which within Fulton County, each commissioner is given an opportunity to appoint at least 2 members to the Veterans Empowerment Commission, which is designed, of course, to help organizations like the one I'm a member of. And it's important because those people and those decisions directly affect our community. In fact, to the point of, and I have to give a shout out to Marvin Arrington Jr. and the Fulton County Commission for providing $2 million to benefit veterans-related organizations and businesses within the community. One of the great benefits and this has the second year, we are about to approach the 3rd year of this happening once they decide if they're going to give us an additional $1 million to distribute to organizations that primarily benefit veterans. And it has been an exceptional program with challenges. We'll have to be specific about there were challenges on how some of the monies were distributed, but in most situations, these monies, the funds that were distributed, benefited most veterans, and that was the idea behind it. I'm going to step out and give kudos to one particular organization, which is run by Tony Barr, Vet 22. It's an organization that, of course, deals with the fact that at a point, I don't think the numbers are as high as they were, every day veterans were committing suicide. Well, he developed a program within his organizations where veterans could come and talk about those challenges in their life that directly affect them. It was an excellent program for particularly those veterans who were dealing with post-traumatic stress. They had an opportunity to talk about those things, to voice those things. And as a participant in that program, it was great to see those veterans who at one time were really challenged by post-traumatic stress, but is because of treatment, social and medical treatment, they're able to manage their lives a lot better without the darkness of trauma directly affecting them. And that was an excellent program that Tony Barr and the Vet 22 organization has. And hopefully, once the budget for the next year comes out and they offer funds for those organizations that will do that, here's an opportunity for veterans who not just primarily dealing with post-traumatic stress, but any kind of trauma or challenges that they're having in life. It was an excellent program to sit in and have those discussions and evaluate your own personal self, to see yourself in a different light so that you're able to understand any traumatic events that happened in your past. You're now able to, you're now able to handle those situations a lot better than they did in the past. It is an excellent program, and I'm hoping that once the funding is available next year, that his organization will get the funds needed. And not just here, there are several organizations that have gotten funds that are beneficial to the veterans in the community. And that's basically what we're looking at, is those veterans who are having mental, social challenges are able to get assistance on how to deal with those situations that come up in their lives. It has been a real pleasure working with Fulton County and being a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee to find out some of the things that they are doing to benefit veterans. And so, in my opinion, based on some of the monies that were allotted, it has been more beneficial for those veterans than not. As normal, there are always those programs that are receiving funds that will give you reason to have thought as to why are they receiving those funds, as opposed to an organization that is directly affecting veterans' lives receiving funds. So just like we use the term to describe people running for office, I'll use the term to describe people that are bidding for or applying for these funds, is they need to be vetted. You know, it doesn't hurt to vet. Ask those questions, challenge those requests, challenge those situations where you see funds are being distributed and it's like, how are these funds directly affecting veterans? And if those funds are not directly benefiting veterans, not just affecting, but benefiting veterans, then maybe they shouldn't be receiving those funds, where organizations that are benefiting veterans are getting those funds. So it is extremely important that Fulton County continues to fund these programs, and it's extremely important for organizations that do things that benefit veterans also receive the monies. Yeah. It's a great program, and hopefully it will continue to work. I'm going to finish up the way I started, talking about the Vietnam Memorial. Once again, Fulton County, the city of Atlanta has approved funding to build a memorial in Piedmont Park for the 240 young men who paid the ultimate price. We would love to see the citizens of Atlanta come up. Go to the website, purchase a commemorative brick, put whatever information you want on that brick, and have that brick become the walk of honor that leads up to those veterans who paid the ultimate price. It's an excellent way to become a part of a permanent memorial, but it's even more important, it's an excellent way for us to honor those veterans who paid the ultimate price. So it is one of those things that will become, hopefully, for those families who have reunions in Atlanta, to make visiting Piedmont Park, the Vietnam Memorial, to honor and to remember those family members that paid the ultimate price. You know, an interesting fact about it is that most, if not all of the young men have no family lineage that is remaining after the war. You know, most of us were teenagers, you know, right out of high school, you know. But if there are, it would be wonderful that a family member could say, you know, my great-grandfather or my grandfather served in Vietnam, and his name is on the memorial in Atlanta, Georgia, and I purchased a commemorative brick to honor his name being on that memorial. So I'm asking everybody, go to the site, sonsofatlanta.org, look at those young men. Some of them you may know, or maybe friends of yours. But anyway, look at those young men's names that are there and consider purchasing a commemorative brick to put on the walk of honor that leads up to that memorial. So, with that, I want to say thank you for watching the program. Once again, every Saturday, 4 to 5, the plight of veterans in the USA, and the USA dealing with the plight of veterans. See you next Sunday. See you next Saturday.